The Empire's growing again.
Grogu, playtime's over.
Everybody come and look!
Long live the Empire! We have to stop meeting like this.
They've got you outnumbered 10-1.
I like those odds.
The Mandalorian season finale streaming Wednesday on Disney+.
Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
Hey guys, Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well, and welcome to my The Mandalorian Season 3 Episode 8 finale preview video. That's right, we're already at the finale of the third season of The Mandalorian. Time really does fly. Of course, we'll have our reaction video / initial thoughts, and also a full-on breakdown with different things that you might have missed, and Easter eggs throughout the episode as well, out here on the channel when the episode is actually out. So stay tuned for that by hitting the subscribe button and that notification bell to be notified for when that video comes out. We're also discussing and covering all types of Star Wars related news, leaks, rumors, theories, and breakdowns here on the channel as well. That there being said, this here is everything that you need to know before tuning into the Mandalorian Season 3 finale, as well as kind of just about everything that we do know about the finale here, as well as an overall recap of the previous episode and an in general basis of the overall season of major key points I think that we could see play out and pan out here in the finale here as well. I'll also be discussing a handful of different theories throughout the video as well. The Mandalorian Season 3 is coming to an end, and things aren't looking great for the Mandalorians. Bo-Katan has finally united the Mandalorian clans behind the Darksaber, only for her landing party to fall into Moff Gideon's trap at the Great Forge on Mandalore. Meanwhile, Grogu is once again separated from his father when Din Djarin is captured by the Empire, and things could get even worse. It's possible that the Mandalorians will soon discover that one of their own is a spy actually for Moff Gideon. And so, even though this season hasn't been one of the most consistent at that, all of the pieces seem to come together in the episode titled The Spies, the previous episode, and we can't wait to see how this season wraps up all of these different story threads and narratives. Here's everything that we need to know before the Season 3 finale of The Mandalorian. When is the Mandalorian episode coming out? Of course, as usual, Wednesday, April 19th at around, depending on your time zone, 12 a.m. for Pacific time zones, 3 a.m. for Eastern Standard Time zones, which would be for me, and 8 a.m. for GMT. A little bit of an in general recap of the overall season. A lot has happened in The Mandalorian Season 3. From trips to Coruscant and Navarro to fight with pirates and with dangerous missions to Mandalore, and there's still so much more to resolve. If you need a refresher on all the different storylines, here's everything and all the key different things that have happened in Season 3 of the Star Wars series up to this point. After being reunited with Grogu and kicked out of his Mandalorian covert in the Book of Boba Fett for removing his helmet, Din Djarin is trying to find a way back in. The Armorer tells Din Djarin if he bathes in the living waters of Mandalore, and that brings proof of his privilege back to the covert, that he'll be a Mandalorian once again, at least according to their creed, the Children of the Watch. The problem is many believe that the surface of Mandalore is toxic, and that the planet's violate atmosphere makes it impossible to scan from space. And that furthermore that the planet would be dangerous and uninhabitable. In order to make sure he and Grogu won't die on the planet's surface or within the mines, Din Djarin sets off to find a droid who he can trust to fly with them to Mandalore, and one that can help him assist. They go to Navarro first, hoping to revive the remains of IG-11 left behind after the droid's sacrifice in Season 1. Unfortunately, that's a non-starter, as IG's just too damaged. Fortunately, during a stop on Tatooine, Pelimoto offers him one of her droids, the legendary R5. On the way to Mandalore, Din and Grogu stop at a nearby planet named Kal Vila to check in on Bo-Katan Kryze and request her help in exploring the planet. After Din Djarin became the rightful owner of the Darksaber and Bo-Katan refused to fight him for it, her disillusioned tribe of Mandalorians left her to become mercenaries. We see them later on in the season. Bo-Katan is grappling with the weight of this failure and what it means for the future of the Mandalorians as an overall people and how they're going to be moving forward when Din and Grogu show up. Even though Din Djarin didn't set out to win the Darksaber from Moff Gideon purposely in spite of Bo-Katan, she still partially blames him for the loss of her clan and her claim to rule Mandalore. She sends Din Djarin on his way, hoping he'll get the hint and leave her alone. Din and Grogu arrive on Mandalore's surface, and Din sends R5 out ahead to scan the atmosphere of the surface and within the mines. R5 is attacked by what's called Alamites, savage creatures who live within the mines, pretty much trolls, and Din has to go out and rescue him. And so, as they realize that the atmosphere is actually breathable, Din goes back for Grogu, and they head further into the mines together. Din is then attacked and captured by a cyborg creature, forcing Grogu and R5 to run back to Bo-Katan Kryze for help. Bo-Katan is angry at first to see Din's N1 starfighter on her landing pad once again. However, but once she realizes that it is Grogu on his own, she follows him back to Mandalore to rescue Din. After defeating the cyborg creature and freeing Din, she accompanies him to the mines. Din wades into the waters to cleanse himself, but immediately sinks into the lake's depths. Bo-Katan dives in to rescue him again, and she makes her way back up with an unconscious Din Djarin. She then sees something that changes her, a living, breathing mythosaur. The mythosaur is something I think that's going to play a really big, prominent role within the finale, and I think it will actually rise up and destroy this Imperial base that is taken home to Mandalore. I have a separate video already discussing and talking about this here on the channel, as well into the regards of everything that we know about the mythosaur in canon, and kind of explaining that all. After Din recovers, they head back to Calavena, the homeworld of Bo-Katan, only for Bo-Katan's home to be destroyed by an Imperial TIE interceptors and bombers, sent by some Imperial warlord, but more than likely to be Moff Gideon, especially after the most previous episode of The Mandalorian, that we do see that Moff Gideon resides with on Mandalore. He's so close to the homeworld of Bo-Katan. Now, shaken from seeing the mythosaur and watching another home being destroyed by the Empire, Bo-Katan follows Din back to his Mandalorian covert. Because she had bathed in the waters to save Din and has yet to remove her helmet since that experience, Bo-Katan is able to join Din's tribe, the Children of the Watch, and kind of chill with them for a little bit. Soon after they get to the covert, Din encourages Grogu to train with the other young Mandalorians, and he wins his first practice duel. But Grogu doesn't have long to celebrate his victory before his opponent, Ragnar Vizsla, is taken by a giant raptor. Bo-Katan leading the hunt party to rescue the boy. Bo-Katan and Din manage to save Ragnar before he becomes baby raptor food and bring him home to the clan unharmed, gaining the respect of his father, Paz Vizsla, and furthering her respect, Bo-Katan Kryze, to the rest of the Mandalorians, but specifically with the Armorer. During the rescue mission, Bo-Katan loses a pauldron. She goes to the Armorer for a replacement, and so Bo-Katan reveals of what she saw in those mines. At first, the Armorer doesn't appear to believe her, but she later comes around after the covert settles on Navarro, thinking that Bo-Katan was simply talking about a dream or a vision about the mythosaur. And so while the hunting party goes after the raptor, Grogu stays behind with the Armorer. She makes him another piece of armor for him, this time a rondel bearing Din's Mudhorn sign. The process of the Armorer making this equipment here triggers another flashback for Grogu to how he survived Order 66 and had escaped the Jedi Temple on that fateful night. Very remnants of the first season of The Mandalorian, of when the Armorer is constructing new Beskar armor for Din Djarin. He has flashbacks to when he joined the Children of the Watch. We learned that Grogu was rescued by the Jedi Master Caloran Beck, being played by Ahmed Best. Members of the Naboo armed forces were sympathetic to the Jedi and helped the pair escape Coruscant on one of their ships. What happened next has yet to be continued, and something that I'm hopeful that we'll see in the future. We then move on to the Navarro pirate problem. When Din first returns to Navarro at the beginning of the season, he helps Greef Karga run off a group of pirates led by Agorian Shard. The pirates used to work with Karga back when Navarro was a haven for bounty hunters and pirates alike, and they don't like that the High Magistry has transformed the planet into a respectable place now. Karga offers Din Djarin land in the role of a marshal to further mitigate the situation, but Din insists that he must be redeemed in the mines before he can move forward with anything like that. I do believe the most important thing though, however, with the pirates is that Gorian Shard does return to Navarro shortly after Din is redeemed in the living waters, firing upon the people when Karga refuses to surrender the planet to the pirates. Karga requests aid from the New Republic Captain Carson Teva, and when Teva is unable to find help and get the help of the rest of the New Republic, foiled by the New Republic bureaucracy, he does seek out Din Djarin and the rest of the Mandalorian covert to help Navarro. Even though the covert once fought with Karga to help Din and Grogu escape, they believe that Din, when he says that Karga and Navarro have both changed for the better, and of course they go off and help them. And led by Bo-Katan, the covert travels to Navarro. Navarro, where they do defeat Gorian Shard and the rest of the pirates, and grateful for their help, Greef Karga extends his invitation for land and a place to call home to the rest of Din's coverts. And so it is from here that we see that the rest of the Mandalorians are finding a home and reclaiming Mandalore at that, as we've recently seen in the recent episodes. After accepting Karga's offer, the covert begins to settle in on Navarro, at least temporary. The armorer meets with Bo-Katan, telling her that she believes that the mythosaur was an omen, signifying that Bo-Katan is destined to reunite all of the different Mandalorian creeds and cultures. She allows Bo-Katan to remove her helmet to symbolize her ability to walk both of the ways of the Mandalorian, and sends her off to recruit others. Despite her hesitations and doubts, though, Bo-Katan accepts this role and sets off with Din to convince Axe Woofs and the rest of her former clan to rejoin her once again with the rest of these Mandalorians on Navarro. They travel to a place called Plazar 15, where Axe Woofs and the others have been hired as protectors, or mercenaries to a point. The planet is overseen by Captain Bombardi, who's played by Jack Black, and the Duchess, played by Lizzo, though most major decisions are made by the people in a direct democracy. Din and Bo-Katan are allowed to meet with Axe Woofs after helping Bombarda and the Duchess with a droid problem, so a little bit of a side quest in that episode. But there is some tensions between the reunion between Axe Woofs and the rest of those Mandalorians, and with Bo-Katan and Din. Bo-Katan challenges Axe Woofs in combat for control over the Mandalorian fleet, and forces him to yield, because enough blood has been spilled by your own hands. Axe Woofs questions why she hasn't tried to win the Darksaber from Din though, however, and that when Din brings up an interesting loophole, because Din was incapable of a cyborg creature on Mandalore and had been beaten by it, Bo-Katan then defeated that creature with the Darksaber, and so that would make her technically has a rightful claim to the blade. This is good enough for Bo-Katan and everyone else too, and they agreed to follow her back to Navarro, making her the true leader of both the Darksaber and really all of the Mandalorians, and being the owner of the Darksaber. The fleet then arrives at Navarro, and soon after the armorer decides that it's time to reclaim Mandalore. Both clans travel to Mandalore together, but only a few, including Bo-Katan, Din, Grogu, Axe Woofs, and the armorer, Paz Vizsla, and Koska Reeves, all go to the surface on the initial scouting mission. They find a clan of survivors who remained on the planet after the Great Purge, and the armorer offers to take the weakest back to the fleet for medical care. The rest of the crew continue on to the Great Forge of Mandalore, until they run into a trap laid by Moff Gideon himself and his Beskar-enhanced Imperial Commando troops. Moff Gideon is back, and we've also learned that he's escaped from the New Republic, and has made a base of his own actually on Mandalore, where the city used to be. It is pretty much just about from here of where we are last seen with our heroes being in a little bit of a trouble here, as Din Djarin is then captured by Moff Gideon and the Imperial remnants, and the rest of the Mandalorians are kind of scattered about and in a retreat. A little bit about the New Republic. While Din and Bo-Katan are on their respective journeys, the New Republic is struggling to establish itself in the wake of the Empire. The fledgling galactic government was and has accepted former Imperial officers, including Dr. Pershing and Elia Kane, who've had, of course, their own solo outing in the Season 3 of The Mandalorian, into the New Republic Society as part of their Amnesty program that seeks to rehabilitate enemy soldiers. Pershing and Elia Kane become friends, and she convinces him to try and pursue his cloning research despite of the New Republic rules against it. But Elia is actually playing him and sabotages his reconditioning by turning a device known as the Mind Flare into its highest setting, breaking the poor doctor and erasing his mind. The Mind Flare is something I think that's going to be a little bit more important than we think within the finale, and I think that we could see another character actually get mind flared within the finale. As of who, I'm not really sure. Elia Kane is also working quite closely with the New Republic's Colonel Tuttle when Tiva comes to warn them of the pirate attack on Navarro. Tiva insists that the pirates are connected to the rising of the Imperial presence. Both Tuttle and Elia dismiss his concerns though, however, and I think that Tiva is correct about this though, however, as well. We do learn in the previous episode of The Mandalorian that Moff Gideon did actually inquire Elia Kane about the pirates on Navarro trying to wipe out the rest of these Mandalorians, and that it was revealed that the Empire, or Moff Gideon, was the one that had hired these pirates to do so. And so as we also learn on Tiva's return back across to the New Republic, he comes across a prisoner transport that had been attacked and abandoned, and because of the timing, it is assumed that Moff Gideon's transport and proof that he had never had made it to trial, finding the Beskar alloy on the ship as evidence and revealing that he had never made it to trial in the first place from the New Republic. Republic. Of course, there's different theories about who the Beskar had belonged to. Of course, the main theory is that it was actually other Mandalorians, but instead it was a third generation of Dark Troopers that are made more out of Beskar. A little bit about Moff Gideon and his return in this overall season is that the penultimate episode of the season, Moff Gideon meets with the Imperial Shadow Council, proving that Sativa was right all along, that he had escaped the New Republic. The Empire is planning a big comeback. Elia Kane tells him that it was the Mandalorians who had defeated the pirates on Navarro, as I had just mentioned, and we also see that Elia Kane is playing both sides, working very closely with Moff Gideon and also working very closely with the New Republic. Although we do know that her true intentions are with the Empire and with Moff Gideon. And so, with Gideon learning that the defeat of the pirates on Navarro prompts him to ask the Council for commandos and Peppertarian guards to deal with them. The Shadow Council also mentions the search for Grand Admiral Thrawn and the mysterious project of Necromancer, which is assumed to be a part of Palpatine's cloning project that we would later see within the sequels. Back on Mandalore, Gideon traps the search party at the Great Forge, except for Axe Woofs, who's gone off to warn the rest of the fleet that the Empire is there. Grogu looks on from his IG-12 suit as Din Djarin is captured by Gideon's troopers. Paz Vizsla sacrifices himself so that Bo-Katan and the rest of these Mandalorians can cut a hole through the blast doors and to escape, and leaving the episode on a cliffhanger. Episode 8, the finale of Season 3 of The Mandalorian, is going to serve a lot as pretty much as a part 2 to the previous episode, is what I'm hearing about, and hoping for as well. Something that we saw very similar to Season 2, and the finale of The Mandalorian there as well, as those final 2 episodes kind of acted back-to-back as a part 1 and a part 2 in a way to the finale. This here has been our preview video slash recap video of just about all the different events here that we've seen in Season 3 of The Mandalorian, leading us to the events of the finale of the 3rd season. I think that there's a lot that's going to go on here. I don't think that we're going to see the death of Moff Gideon quite yet here. We're going to see the introduction of Grand Admiral Thrawn, I'm very certain of. I had a separate video discussing some different teases from Dave Filoni at that there as well. I think if for anything though, however, the Thrawn kind of cameo at that would be a little bit of a hologram essentially. I want to thank you so much for watching this video for one thing, especially if you made it all the way to the end of it here. And I would love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions, your predictions, your final fan theories in the comment section down below. What are you guys looking forward to seeing most in the Season 3 finale of The Mandalorian? What do you want to see happen? What do you want to see, who do you want to see show up? I would love to hear everything that you guys have to say in the comments down below. Of course, stay tuned for our reaction video slash initial thoughts video that we'll have out here later on the channel, as well as our breakdown video slash things that you might have missed and different Easter eggs throughout the episode video coming out later when the episode is actually out. Stay tuned for that by hitting the subscribe button and that notification bell to be notified for when that video is coming out. We're also discussing and talking about all types of Star Wars related news, leaks, rumors, theories, and breakdowns here on the channel as well. So if you guys are into any of that, join us here on the channel today by subscribing. And so until next time, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one, guys. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.